of times a year, and it's just our job to give you that info and make sure that you can count on us to keep you safe. So as some reminders, if you are in this area, you want to be in a protected part of your home, somewhere away from outside windows, doors, walls. You want to be in an interior room, whether it be a closet, a bathroom, or maybe just a small hallway laundry room or something along those lines. Anything that you can do to put as many barriers between you and the outside as possible is going to do a good job of keeping you and your family safe. But this storm does mean business. We've seen it rotating for a while now over several counties, and there were some unconfirmed reports anyway from, I believe this was the county sheriff's office in Iredell County had said that there were reports of a tornado on the ground in Iredell. But again, that's not something we can confirm. There were some trees down on Friendship Road in Iredell County as well, not too far from Love Valley. So northwest of Love Valley, that's where that storm was, and now it's pushing in right toward the Highway 421 corridor. Still seeing the spinning motion, still seeing a strong velocity signature. In fact, these are likely some really, really high winds. This is actually showing me wind speeds of 86 miles per hour right now, getting picked up by our radar. It's usually a little bit higher up at cloud level where the radar beam is, but even so, you don't want to mess with anything quite that strong. And that's what we're seeing. It would be moving pretty close actually to where Highway 77, Interstate 77, crosses US 421. That big intersection is right over here, and the storm is moving in that general direction. So if you have friends, family in this area, give them a text, give them a call, and say, hey, I'm watching the weather report right now, and they're saying there's a possible tornado right on the Wilkes County, Yadkin County border. Got to take it safe, got to be in a safe spot. So please go ahead, alert your friends and family just in case they might not know about it just yet. We see this little ball structure. That is really typical of what we see with tornadoes that move through in this type of a storm system. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a tornado on the ground right now, moving past Osborneville, moving through Newcastle, and eventually getting closer to Elkin as we get closer to 7:45 this evening. Again, Elkin is not that far down the line. We can see it right there. I'll pause it. It's only about 15-20 miles away, I believe. So right now, this storm is it's actually only about 10 miles away. So right now, that possible tornado is just 10 miles to the south and to the west of Elkin. So it's headed your way, and from there, it could continue farther along into parts of Surrey County. So pretty nasty storm. Something that we followed already, the second and third tornado warnings of the day, and there are more to come. This storm system is just really strong, and it's not in a hurry. It's a slow mover. So as we look farther back to the west, we're going to have more of these moving our way. There are more storms in South Carolina, more in Georgia, and the trend tonight has been as they continue to get closer to us and they move into North Carolina, they strengthen and they spin up. And that's when they've been creating tornadoes, funnel clouds, and all these different things that we've been getting warnings for. Meantime, back in the mountain side of things, they're having a big flood risk as well. But unfortunately, we might have to track this for you all the way through the nighttime hours, even while you usually would be sleeping. We're going to be fully staffed at WFMY just to make sure that we're bringing you that weather info as needed when it's issued. But right now, 3 different tornado warnings continue. That's something that we've seen a lot this evening already, and so we got to take it safe. So right now, Hickory is having a tornado warning, also one in Iredell County. There's one right behind this one. So we're having this storm first, then there's another one coming, and then another one behind it. So first things first, it looks like it's crossing now 421. Let's zoom in much, much closer and see if we can't call out some roadways for you. So we're talking about Highway 421 near Pea Ridge, near Cycle. This would be near Swan Creek Road. This is Split Rail Road, I believe. Yadkin Mountain Road, Old Highway 60 is right about here as well. You can see this is really where we're starting to see the nasty part of the storm. Wilkes Yadkin Road, we have Union Church Road, Union Baptist Road, also Newcastle, the town of it as well, Somers School Road. That's right in the heart of the storm right now. So it's really close to that intersection. That's where the Interstate 77 crosses with Highway 421. So it's not impacting Yadkinville or parts like that. It's just to the west of where I-77 cuts across Highway 421. So that's where we're looking at it, right near Pea Ridge Pass at the moment, headed towards Swan Creek, headed towards Cycle, and passing through Newcastle right now. Still pretty strong rotation on this storm and very, very strong winds being picked up by our radar. You can see wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles per hour are being felt in the storm. Might not be that high in the ground, but that's what it's like in the storm right now. So we know it's, of course, a very strong one. That rotation is still there. That green right up against the red shows us that it's not weakening a little bit at all just yet. It's still rotating plenty as it moves closer to Highway 421 right now. We have this until 7:45, so about the next 20 minutes, we're going to continue to follow it. Looks like we just got a new update on the velocity here. Zoom in a little bit more. There it goes. So we see that storm is really splitting Highway 421 right now. That's where it would be. So that's not something we want to see. At this time of night, people might be driving home from work. If they work in Winston-Salem, they live in Wilkesboro, they're crossing on these roadways, and that's, a busy highway. Let's just say that. Very busy highway right here, and that's where you have a possible tornado moving right now in that area. Let's take a 3D slice of the storm. We've seen hail in a lot of these earlier today. This storm too, very strong. And very tall. So it has cloud tops of about 30,000 feet or so. Not finding too much in the way of hail showing up. I would be looking for some purples or fuchsias in here. Just not really seeing that right now. So most likely we're just looking at a tornado threat and a high wind threat, not so much a threat for hailstones like we had earlier with some of the other storms. This is more wind and more tornado right now. And again, we have 1, 2, and 3 tornado warnings all lining up to all impact the same areas. If you're in Wilkesboro, we said before, you're pretty much clear. That's still the case. These storms are forming now to your east, and they'll likely continue to get a little bit farther and farther to the east as we go throughout the night tonight. So just kind of buckle up. It's going to be a long ride. We're watching through the night as these storms will slowly be crawling toward our area. This is not a fast system. It is a slow one and a painful one as well. Heavy rain's going to take its toll. We've already seen some really impressive numbers out west. I think that these rain totals will range from 2, 3, and possibly 4 inches of rain before it's all said and done in parts of the Triad. So we're still following this tornado warning, moving really through Yadkin County now. It's primarily a Yadkin County storm right along the Wilkes border, and it is headed right toward Elkin. So Elkin needs to be ready. Elkin needs to be in their safe spot. It's just about 7 to 8 miles south of Elkin right now. So the city of Elkin under the gun from this possible tornado within the next 10 minutes. And that's really something that you got to take very seriously. You don't see that often, especially out there. Right now we're following, I'm trying to get some updates from our folks in the National Weather Service. Hearing of more funnel clouds being spotted over in Iredell County. That's from the next storm that's happening. Let me switch off here and see what else they're saying. They're going to continue that warning until 7:45 for Surrey, Wilkes, and Yadkin. And we're just going to kind of be with it until it weakens. And right now it hasn't really showed too many signs of weakening. There is that next tornado possible system. This actually looks stronger than that one. So between the two storms, this one to me looks stronger than that one. So we're already on top of the strongest storm on the board right now. But it's already been a busy night, and we're going to have more of this, I think, before it's all said and done. Elsewhere, you do have a severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, in these counties. That goes until 7:45 as well. So there's only this tinier part that has the tornado warning, but we also have multiple other warnings that are happening all at once. We'll try just to focus on this one and then broaden out if this one weakens. Chad Silber joining me now too. You've been in the newsroom, Chad, as we've finished up the other tornado warning, and now we have this new one. Haven't heard of anything as far as damage or concerns just yet. Anything new that you've learned just yet?
So most of the people on the Facebook chat right now just kind of picking out their own city, wondering, are we in the clear yet? Are we in the clear yet? And Tim, it sounds as though it's pretty safe to say that really no one is in the clear just yet.
No one is in the clear. No. And we we were just having planning discussions here with staff at the station, and I said, honestly, we could have a tornado warning for parts of our area anytime between now and noon tomorrow. So that's 17 hours that we're going to have to continue just to watch the weather. You almost think of it like a tropical system. You know how hurricanes have all these little fingers and bands that rotate through, and every time they can sometimes rotate a little bit. This is band number 1. We have band number 2, 3. There are others that are still yet to form back here in Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia. So we're going to be doing this for a while. Hopefully not continuously. I don't think it'll be continuous. But right now we're just coming off the heating of the afternoon. This is the initial front band. It makes sense that we're having some tough weather here. And we do still, right now, have 3 different storms, 1, 2, and 3, that are having tornado warnings right now, from Hickory to Love Valley, and also up closer to Elkin. So friends, family up in Elkin area got to be taking this storm seriously and getting into their safe spot. You can't count on it weakening. It would be lovely if it weakens, and it might, but you don't want to count on that. You want to be in your safe spot before it gets to that point, because we're still seeing a storm that's perfectly strong enough. That's plenty of rotation to produce a tornado. It is not a weak rotation. This is stronger than the one that we were just tracking about half an hour ago. This one's stronger, and it's moving. It might actually pass a little bit to the right of Elkin. Let me just go back frame by frame. It looks like it's moving a little bit to the right of the initial motion. So it looks like to me we might be looking at a storm that ends up doing this or this. So Elkin East, I believe there's a Walmart right about here. Plenty of shops right here along the I-77 area. This is not somewhere I would want to be right now. You want to be out of that area, and if you live there, you want to be in a safe spot, not in, sitting in your regular chair in the regular living room right next to the windows. That's not something that you want to do. You want to be as far away from the windows as possible. Sure enough, we are in that general area. There's a Walmart right there. And we'll keep this in mind as we get a little bit closer to Elkin. We'll call out some points of interest for you. But right now we're talking about the storm right over I-77. I guess it's close to Tucker Road. What would be this road right here? Rena Road. Yeah, so we're talking about Rena Road right here near US 21. Also, I believe this is Wagner and Marler Road. These are the areas right now that will be under the gun from the tornado. It does not show signs of weakening. If anything, it's really holding its own right now. So parts of that area, you've really got to be taking it very seriously. Not too much in the way of points of interest. Actually, there is Dobbins Creek Vineyards is right here. I'm looking at a map right now. That's Dobbins Creek Vineyards. So there's also Marler Road Baptist Church right about here in this general area, just to the south of Rena Road. We're also looking at Midnight Magdalena Vineyards right up here. That's that wine country area where you have one every couple of miles. Swan Creek Road, Swan Creek Farm Supply, Swan Creek Baptist Church. All of these areas are points of interest right in this part of the storm where the tornado could be passing through. If anything, at best case scenario, you're getting extremely heavy rain and gusty winds. Worst case scenario, there's a tornado that could be doing some damage to our friends and neighbors in Yadkin County right now. The good thing, I'm not seeing anything in the sign of debris on radar. Hopefully that's true. It's just a tool that we use. It doesn't always guarantee, but it's still very, very strong rotation in the storm, at least above the ground where the radar beam is. We're not ever able to see right down to ground level with our radar unless the radar was located right here. It's not. It's up in Virginia. So it's always an estimate, but that's what we're seeing right now. It's a very highly rotating storm that could be producing a tornado. Looks like it's going to be passing just to the east of Elkin in about 5 minutes. It's only about 5 miles away from Elkin right now. Let's see. About 4 or 5 miles away. That's it.
Tim, we've been in constant communication with some of the 911 operators and some of the EMS crews in our area. And Wilkes County told us that there are 2 trees reported down, 1 tree down on power lines at Fishing Creek Road. We've also heard from Surrey County and Yadkin County, their 911 dispatch center. They have no calls of damage so far.
It's good to know. You know, it could be a lot worse always, right? That's certainly good news. We hope that there's not damage with this one too. This storm actually, as it moves to the north, Dobson might be included. We'll see if this gets extended. But as this goes farther up the road, Elkin is first, then Dobson, and then perhaps Mount Airy. That's a little ways away. It's still moving kind of slowly. Let me do a latest estimate for you as far as the arrival times here. We would be looking at Dobson closer to 8 p.m., Elkin around 7:38, just about 5 minutes from now, Zephyr 7:54, Little Richmond around 7:45. So we have a little bit of time for Surry County, but you sure want to make sure that you're in a good spot because this thing is a strong one and it's not showing signs of weakening. Also, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's another tornado warned storm just across the border and then another one farther down the line. So we're tracking 3 tornado warnings, only 1 in our area. But boy, it could be a really long night if you live over here. You're gonna have to be in your safe spot over and over again as these storms continue to kind of move through. The good news, it has passed over Highway 421 right now, so that is something that's already happened. It'll be passing over Interstate 77 next up. That's really the next major highway that we would see this storm passing across. Very, very heavy rain near Swan Creek and Rena, north of Cycle as well. And we've already pointed out a couple of those wineries there. Midnight Magdalena Vineyards is a point of reference for you. Swan Creek Baptist Church, Dobbins Creek Vineyards as well. And then we're coming up on Elkin beyond that along Highway 21. There's a couple hotels right there at the intersection. Another winery, of course, and a couple of car dealerships too. So a lot of different areas that are going to be impacted by this. And then you get up toward the border of Surry. This is where you have a Walmart Supercenter and some other areas that really might have to shelter as this storm moves along. You're going to have to take cover from the storm as it moves through the Elkin area, as it's still spinning, it's still rotating along and not really showing good signs of weakening just yet. We have about 10 minutes more of this warning, so at that point we're either going to get a new one or it would be dropped. But I think we're probably going to see it continue a little while longer.
Tim, for folks who are in the eastern portion of the News 2 viewing area, Guilford, Rockingham, Alamance, Randolph counties, they're probably not seeing much right now, but you're saying that it really hasn't started over there yet.
Nope, it hasn't started there, and you wouldn't be seeing it for still several hours because the storm is not moving quickly. So if we zoom out to include all of our Triad friends and neighbors, here's where the storms are. They're not really moving toward you. They're mostly moving north. Now, of course, they're making incremental progress to the east, but still several hours away from Lexington, several hours away from Winston-Salem, even more hours away from Greensboro, Asheboro, and Burlington and Reedsville. So you're going to wait a while. This is probably going to come through while you're trying to get some sleep between midnight, 2, 4, and 6 a.m., a long haul event here. If we widen out the view, you'll notice we're starting to see a line form. We've already seen it form in our area, but it stretches all the way back here closer to Charlotte and also down into South Carolina. So there's a lot to deal with that has yet to move our way. This is just going to be a marathon and not really a sprint. So we're going to watch this over the course of the whole overnight, really. And hopefully, you know, there's not going to be a tornado warning continuously the whole time, but every now and again we'll have these little flare-ups for small areas that we'll have to watch very, very closely. And right now that's the case for that county, that county, that county. We have Yadkin, Surry, Iredell, and down towards Catawba County. Getting some unconfirmed reports of some bad damage in Iredell County too from EMS, and hopefully we can get some more information on that. But Iredell County, just across the border, is reporting some issues, is what we're hearing. So not good news. It does seem like these are legit storms that do have the real potential of creating some real damage as well. This storm itself is rotating in and moving into Elkin shortly. We have that rotation right now has moved. Right now that rotation is just to the north of Rena. It's right here at the intersection of Highway 21 and I-77. So that's where the storm is headed. The spinning is moving right over the interstate, right where Highway 21 intersects with Interstate 77. So we're talking about, let's see, there's a hotel right there. There's Terry's Cafe and Catering, America's Best Value Inn. Dynamis Estate Vineyards, and then we're going to see it continue. It could head right up toward, I guess the Best Western is up there too. A lot of areas up in Elkin just have to be on guard because it's headed your way. It's really not too far from you or Jonesville over the next 5 to 3 minutes, because this is always old information, right? Radar is never completely, totally live. We get it as live as we possibly can, but even so, the best we can do is 1 minute or 2 minutes. So this is already moving along with that very, very strong spinning headed toward Birch next. It's going to pass just to the east of downtown Elkin, but your spinning, rotating area that could be producing a tornado is headed toward Birch shortly. It'll pass the Yadkin River pretty quickly.
Tim, you'll remember a couple weeks ago when we were doing this during the severe weather and the tornado in Rockingham County, it seemed that that storm was moving very fast. And obviously this one, you know, it sounds like it'll be with us through morning or even noontime tomorrow. What is it that makes a storm fast or slow moving?
Yeah, and the part about this, Chad, it's not that the storms aren't moving very quickly. It's the fact that they're not moving east far enough. So, you know, if you break down the motion of this, they're moving fine, but they're just moving along us rather than past us. So right now, for every, 10 miles they go north, they're only going east 1 or 2. So it's not really making the progress that we would like to see, and that can be bad news for flooding or any sort of severe factors too. The same areas aren't going to get multiple tornadoes, but you're going to get multiple rounds of rain, and you're going to see just more lines developing on the backside before we get rid of this darn thing. And it's going to take really about 18 hours or so before it's totally out of our area. If you're just joining us, again, we would love to show you Jeopardy right now. I understand that. We will do our best to get that to you at some point, but right now our friends and neighbors in Yadkin County have a serious situation. Tornado moving through their community. We would do the same thing for you in your community, and we hope that that doesn't happen. But here it is. This is a rotation that's moving right through now, and it looks like it's getting stronger. This is something that we saw with the Rockingham County tornado a couple of weeks ago. You see how you have this little lighter shade? The reds are encircling it. Looks almost like a donut. Sometimes that can indicate that a tornado is happening. It's not what we want to see. It's called a bounded weak ecoregion, but that's not good news. That would likely show that this storm is strengthening a little bit. It certainly looks like there's still good rotation here right along Highway 77 and Highway 67, just in the city of Elkin. So not good news as this thing moves along, headed right toward Birch. And then we're probably going to get an extension of this warning to include places like Dobson farther down the line. Make sure those folks in Dobson are taking shelter too. You're only about 10 miles away from this storm right now. Mount Airy might be affected farther down the line. And that's storm number 1. Storm number 2 is right here. We'll follow that one next. Hearing reports of damage in Iredell County as well. So we just have so much going on out in our foothill communities. It looks like there is actually a report of a confirmed tornado earlier in Iredell County. This is from Love Valley, Iredell. Looks like there was a tornado reported on the ground near Love Valley. That was around 7 p.m. That's likely from the storm that we're tracking still right now for you. So looks like just, that's the storm that was on the ground before.
If you have any questions, you're watching this on TV right now and you've always wondered about this specific storm or just any severe weather in general, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook. If you're on our Facebook page right now, the WFMY News 2 Facebook page, we are streaming what you're seeing on TV also on Facebook. And you can leave a comment. I'm kind of the middleman here, moderating this chat and then passing questions along to Tim as we get them. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Let us know where you are, what you're seeing. If you have any questions, I know Tim will be happy to answer it. He's going to be talking continuously for a very long time, and sometimes he likes to talk about certain things. One question that we did get, Tim, we were talking earlier about the safest place to be during a tornado if you are at your home, for example. We know that it's the lowest, most innermost room within the house, away from windows, that kind of stuff. Someone was wondering whether a crawl space is a better option than an interior room. Do you have any idea?
That would certainly depend on the individual construction of the crawl space. You could actually funnel the wind if it's open on the sides. I'm not an expert on the building of your home per se, but bottom line, you want to always put as many barriers between you and the outside as possible. So exterior wall, you want to have another interior wall as well. Those are the best things you can do. Some new information here. We're going to be with you a little longer because this tornado warning has now been redrawn and extended. So what we're seeing now as this possible tornado moves into Surry County, they've expanded it to include all of Surry County, basically including Dobson and then Mount Airy farther down the line. This is now all the way until 8:30 this evening, including still parts of Surry, Wilkes, and Yadkin. But truly, this is no longer a Wilkes storm, folks. You can see that this is the bad part. Wilkes is right here. This is a Surry County storm right after it crosses over into Yadkin. So it continues, and there are more ones behind it that we'll have to watch too. Zooming in farther, this storm is right now bearing down on Elkin. This is the Elkin downtown area. This is where the Walmart is located. This is the small town of Birch. We have Highway 268. We have the Yadkin River right here. Your rotation is right about in this general area. And it doesn't look like it's weakened too much. In fact, it hasn't. The rotation is actually a little bit farther east than I thought. Let me get it back here. Still strong in that Elkin area. And apologies for all the boxes. I wish the Weather Service would clear them out here before they draw a new one, but we work with what we got. I don't draw the boxes here, folks. But this is where that rotation is, right here on this part of the storm, right near Birch. And the latest imagery shows it crossing right here, not too far from Boonville. Big spinning motion right here, not too far from Birch. And that rotation, I'll actually let you see it on the big view here. It's near Elkin. So you see where that red is right up against the blue. That's kind of where we're looking at. Really, really nasty stuff. That could be producing a tornado right there near Boonville, right near Elkin, right near Birch in Yadkin County. Highway 268, this tornado will be crossing there. It's going to cross the Yadkin River. And again, this is Walmart, this is Elkin, those are your downtown city areas, and it's moving farther to the north. Ignore that red line because they've redrawn this tornado warning to include all of Dobson and all of Mount Airy. Okay, so you're going to be looking at the storm system. Let's put some new ETAs on this for you. I would expect this is going to continue all the way up to the Virginia border. So we're looking at Dobson by around 8 o'clock. That only gives you about 15 minutes to be in your safe spot. Friends, family in Dobson, let them know safe spot by 8 p.m. Do it now. Don't wait, just do it now. You don't have to wait all that long. Mount Airy, 8:15. White Plains, 8:08. Copeland, probably you're going to be on the edge of this, but if it were to head your way, it would be 7:53. Rockford, I don't think it's coming your way. But this is generally the motion of this storm system, kind of paralleling I-77 for a while and moving right toward Dobson. I think Dobson is in the line of fire for this storm, and you can see it's cleaned up a little bit now. We don't have that other box anymore. That's the storm we're tracking. This is the next storm we're watching over near Hickory. That could follow suit. We also have an unwarned storm too that just moved through Iredell and is coming right up the way. So just as soon as we clear you in Elkin, don't go outside because there's another thunderstorm right on your heels that's coming your way. Hopefully this one will weaken that one a little bit as it's already rain cooled the air. I think that's possible. But just kind of one after another, this one is still moving right now, crossing the border out of Yadkin County and moving into Surry County. So right now, this is primarily a Surry County tornado warning that we're going to follow over the next 45 minutes or so. Hopefully it'll weaken. It looks like it's weakening a little bit, but that could be just a blip on the radar right now.
Hey Tim, just wanted to update you and the folks who are watching on TV hoping to see Jeopardy tonight. We will be re-airing Jeopardy overnight at 1:36 a.m. So if you don't stay up late, set the DVR. Again, Jeopardy will be airing overnight at 1:36 a.m.
So here we go. We're still following that same tornado, 45-minute warning. It's going to be a long one. We're still following it right near Elkin. The city of Elkin itself is just getting cleared out of this one. There is another storm headed your way. I'm imagining our newsroom is still making calls for Yadkin County. Yadkin would be the best to call right now. Wait a couple minutes before finding out for Surrey, but Yadkin just went through this storm. We'll see if they dealt with anything. And then up closer to Mount Airy would be, in the next half an hour or so. Let's zoom in and just show you the latest radar and the latest roads. So we're right over Elkin. I did just text a friend who's in Boonville. He says hadn't heard of any reports just yet. That's good to hear. Hopefully that continues to be the case. It's right over Birch, right over Crutchfield, Highway 601, Highway 268. A lot of lightning, of course, very, very heavy rain. The rotation is not getting any stronger. This is encouraging, and I'm going to check something. I know we don't really care much about temperatures when we're talking about tornadoes, but I'm going to check the temperature map here, because earlier today, we were so cool for a while. It's very cool out here. Mount Airy is in the 60s, so what's likely going to start to happen as these storms, they form right on the edge of the warm air and the cool air. When they ride into the cooler weather, they can weaken actually pretty quickly. And so that hopefully is going to help us out a little bit as these storms get into that cooler air right in this corner of the foothills. They will start to weaken a little bit. I am worried about later on tonight. You see how warm and muggy most of the Triad is right now. There should be plenty of fuel for those storms to continue to fire. If you're just joining us, you want to see the Jeopardy. I get it. I love Jeopardy too. We are watching, though, tornadoes moving through parts of western North Carolina right now. We've already seen a report of one on the ground in Iredell County, and we're tracking warnings now for Yadkin and Surrey, and also down just to the south for Alexander and Iredell County too. So multiple different storms that we still have our eyes on, and it's not getting better anytime soon. The warnings continue basically all the way down to Gastonia. So first things first, let's go back to the storm that has the warning on it. If they drop this, we will leave you alone and we'll go back to regular programming, but we're still tracking this until it gets expired or canceled until 8:30. There's your storm. More lightning is being found right now in the system. It is now completely in Surrey County. It has left Elkin behind. It is over Birch, and it is out of Yadkin County. So I know the warning still says Wilkes and Yadkin. Don't worry about it. The folks are busy at the Weather Service. They have other things to do. But I can tell you this storm is now only a Surrey County problem that we're continuing to watch. The rotation is not getting any stronger. In fact, it does look to be getting a little bit weaker to me, but it is moving right in this general area near Little Richmond. That's where we're seeing the swirling motion, but it is looking weaker. That's good news. We hope that continues as it moves toward Dobson. But that is where it would be moving. So it's moving closer to Dobson over the next 20 minutes or so. I shouldn't say that because that's actually not accurate at this time. Dobson, we're actually talking about 10 minutes for you. About 10 to 15 minutes is all you have in Dobson. It would also impact notable areas such as Surrey Community College. That would be right around 8 p.m. as well. It's heading in that general direction. Dobson, smallish town, but a lot of places and cities are there. We have, of course, the 911 center for Surrey County is located in Dobson as well. Very important place in weather like this, but that's somewhere that's in the line of the storm at this time. So they'll have to get to their safe spot, I would imagine, if this thing holds together, just like we do at the TV station when that happens to us.
Tim, when there's ever severe weather, we always ask if you can safely take a picture or a video and send it to us. We have just received a picture of some flooding. This is in Hamptonville, which is in Yadkin County. It's kind of hard to tell what we're looking at here, Tim. Maybe you have a better understanding. Looks like some farm equipment.
I was going to say it almost looks like a backhoe.
Like small machinery, yeah. So this is, again, in Hamptonville, which is in Yadkin County. They have been seeing some rain, as you know, today. Again, if you have any pictures that you would like to share with us, either of severe weather or of flooding like you saw right there, or any storm damage, and you can do it safely, we made it really easy. You can either text us pictures or videos to 336-379-5775, 336-379-5775. If you send those to us, just include where you are located so we can have an idea of where this specific storm damage or severe weather is located as well.
Thanks, Chad. That picture, really just illustrates the threat that we're going to find through the rest of the night. Once we get rid of tornado concerns, you're still going to have flood concerns. because we've seen how slow these storms are moving, how heavy the rain is. And if this happened last week, it might not have been a big deal. But remember, we got poured on Monday. We saw flooding in over in Burlington. And that is something that needs to be in consideration here. The ground is pretty wet in a lot of areas. We had cloudy skies for days. We didn't really dry up the ground all that much. So there might be not as much areas for the rain to go. Now, I'm encouraged, though, I will say, this storm is weakening quite a bit now. The rotationing is broadening out a lot. What I mean by that is you would want to see very, very bright colors right up against each other in only a small area. You want tight rotation that's not big. This is broad. So this is not something that shows me a very, very strong tornado. If anything, I think this is kind of devolving into more of a severe thunderstorm. So we'll keep an eye on this. I'm not confident enough to leave you. We still have the weather service that says this is in fact a tornado warned storm. And just as I say that, Chad, we have a new tornado warning that was just issued. We're going to keep following this one for Dobson and Mount Airy, but another one in our area, right down in the same areas we were just tracking before. This is complicated. We have two different tornado warnings now, both in the same spot. So I'll reset for you. We have the one that we've been tracking for you the last 45 minutes in Surrey County. And now we have a new one, which is right where the old one started, over near Osborneville, Newcastle, and right on the Wilkes and Yadkin border. This is a new warning, a brand new one. And again, I'm trying to make sense of it on the fly here. This one goes until 8:15, and it seems like it's the same kind of idea with some strong rotation right there near Windsor's Crossroads. It doesn't look as strong as the last one did. There's also another one behind that. So we have 3 tornado warnings all in a row. 1, 2, 3. So we have Surrey County, Yadkin, Wilkes, and then Iredell, all in a row. Not something you see very often, but this is a mess. This is a mess, and you still got to be in your safe spot again. Folks that we just cleared from the last storm, you're going to have to go back to your safe spot, I'm sorry to say. So we're going to have to pick and choose which ones we put on the screen at once here, but we have multiple different warnings. This first one continues for Dobson. As we said, it looks like that one is weakening a little bit. Let's get you the latest view, and we're just going to go down the line, and then we'll repeat it, and then we'll repeat it again. But we have 2 different warnings in effect. Surrey and then Wilkes and Yadkin all at once here. So you still have the rotation near Highway 601 and Dobson. This does look to continue to weaken a little bit. I'm not as worried about it as I once was, but there is still some spinning. It's moving toward White Plains next, and then it would cross Interstate 74 and go closer to Mount Airy. So this is the general path of motion on this storm. Dobson in just a couple of minutes, White Plains at about 8:07, Mount Airy at about 8:15. So be on your safe spot through that time. That warning does continue until 8:30, as we said. Farther down the line, let's look at the next storm. We're back in that Newcastle area along the Wilkes and Yadkin County line, right there over Iredell County. And again, we're seeing the same idea here where you have some rotation. I'm not so sure if that's strong enough to produce a tornado. It's pretty borderline, but it's there. So you do have another storm to worry about and get to your safe location, okay? So these are just, the type of nights that you hate to have, but we have them sometimes in North Carolina, and there's no changing it. Seems like we might even be getting new warnings now.
Tim, while you're looking at that on
one after another.
Facebook, someone who lives in Yadkin County is telling us that the sirens are going off in East Bend right now. And I know that's your second box there, correct?
So East Bend is actually over here. So East Bend is actually not in the warning. East Bend is located right in this area.
Interesting.
So I think what happens a lot of times is the warning sirens or the warning systems or even your phone, it says, oh, well, there's a tornado warning for Yadkin. This is why you turn it into us. Whenever you get that buzz, turn it to us. I would love it to be us, but just go to any meteorologist that can tell you more about that information. Because what we can do is say, if you're in East Bend, you're actually not in a tornado warning right now. You're about 20 miles away from one. It's off to the west here. So that storm is not headed your way. It is headed instead north of you. Now, still be at high alert. You might have a different situation in about 1 or 2 hours as these storms continue. But we just have one thing after another here, and just so many boxes, just too many boxes to track all at once for you. But I'm going to take the boxes off because I think they're bad, and I want to make sure that they make sense to you, and I want to make sure they make sense to me. 1, 2, 3. These are your storms that all have tornado warnings on them. This one headed toward Dobson and Mount Airy. This one headed again toward Elkin. This one headed up through Iredell County. Farther to the south, do we have anything else? Yes, we do. And we have another one. So they just continue to draw different boxes, and your phone's going to buzz 1,000 times. But here's what we're dealing with. This is another tornado warning that eventually could be closing in on Yadkin and Davie a little farther down the line. This one is even stronger. It's in Iredell County right now, closer to Statesville. But again, I have to take these boxes off because I've never seen so many boxes in my life. All right, there is your spinning areas of rotation. Again, let's take off the boxes. 1, 2, 3. So we'll just go right down the line yet again. We're going to go up to Surrey County, where this tornado warning continues for a little while. Right near Dobson, we're seeing a little bit of a notch here. That can show the storm is trying to strengthen up again. When it shows that notch, that means it's sucking up more air as inflow. So be in your safe spot in Dobson. It's bearing down on you right now. It's headed your way. If you're in Dobson, that storm is being right over you at the time right now. It's just moving through Dobson, headed up toward White Plains, headed up toward Mount Airy, swirling around. Again, the rotation has been stronger before, but it's still strong enough to continue that tornado warning a little bit longer. Let's take off the boxes again so we can make sense of this. We go back down toward Elkin. This is your next tornado warning. Right here near Newcastle. Again, this storm is still spinning a little bit in the same areas. So if we zoom in a little bit closer, we'll show you where this one is, right in the Windsor Crossroads area. The rotation here it's just not that clear to me, folks. This is not very strong rotation compared to the other storms. But still, be safe, be cautious, be in a safe location in this same part of the county, Yadkin County, that you were dealing with it before. Just do it again. Go to your safe location until this storm passes. Now we'll go further down the line again. Now we're looking back toward Iredell County. It's just about 7 boxes for one county. We have the part of the storm that's the worst is right here near Statesville, and this is moving to the north and to the east. This is capable of producing a tornado. If possible, it could clip parts of Davie County a little bit down the line, but also it is headed up toward Yadkin County. Chad, I'm going to put up this this box here that we can show folks where the best places in their home is to go. And we can actually take this full so people can get the full view of this, but it's always important for them to know where their safe spot is in their home.
Right, and so the green's good, right? So the interior room away from windows, the basement is actually your best option because you're up below ground level, right? The bad spots, the top floors, rooms with windows are not safe. Obviously outside. Tim, we were talking earlier about, someone had asked about a single wide trailer. Where's the best place to go? Well, I mean, it's kind of a tough call when you're in that situation. But I believe you had said before, hopefully you have a neighbor or someone outside of the area who lives in a house that, that's attached to the, solid foundation. That might be the best place to go. Isn't that correct?
If you have a friend or neighbor that has a more secure home or a better built structure, that's the best thing to do. Unfortunately, usually by the time a tornado warning is issued, it's already too late. So what I would say is the best idea is to make sure you kind of do that when you get a watch. or when you say that, if you hear, hey, we have a tornado watch for the next 6 hours, that would be the time to go to grandma's or whomever that has that sturdier structure, because you don't want to be on the road when we have these storms out here. It's just not the safe time to do it. So if you don't have another better option, do the best you can, put as many barriers between you and the outside wall as possible, and that's going to help you out in the best way possible. But always important to keep your safety first and foremost of your friends and your family, because we just have so many storms right now that we're going to do our best to keep you informed, but there's a lot of action going on here. I mean, we look at this 1, 2, 3, 4 different areas of concern from Charlotte, basically from the Virginia border all the way to Charlotte right now. We have warnings across western North Carolina. Now, farther west, it's only rain. So the good news is once you get into that, you don't have to worry about going to your safe spot anymore. You just have to worry about flooding. Here in the Triad, this is slowly but surely headed our way. We've been talking since about 5:30 here pretty continuously. We might still be seeing this moving our way by, let's say, 9:30, 10, 11 o'clock. That's when we're seeing it get closer to Greensboro and much of the Triad, but it's going to take its time. It's not going to happen very quickly. It's going to take its time. So let's kind of go back to the screen, show you the different storms that we have to be watching, because there's almost too much information for us to put on the screen at once here, and it could be quite confusing. We'll go south to north this time, and I'm going to take off the boxes because I think they're so confusing. This is your tornado warning for Iredell County. That includes parts of Davie County. This is moving this general area. Okay, so it's going to be moving generally toward Turnersburg and Eagle Mills. There is a lot of rotation here, possibly some hail, high winds, and lots of lightning. Farther up the road, we have this storm just south of Elkin, same area that had the last storm. There's also rotation right here. It could be producing a tornado. It's moving right along Interstate 77 and US 21, same areas that we talked about for the previous one. The rotation on this one is not quite as strong as before, but there are very, very high winds. I believe this would be around 70 miles per hour. 80. So 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts are possible within this storm, and it could be producing a tornado right here in western Yadkin County. Let's go farther north now to the initial tornado warning we started with when we interrupted your Wheel of Fortune. This is right up here in Surrey County, just by Dobson. This storm is getting strong. This actually is not weakening to me. It looks like it might be getting a little bit stronger. We see this little, let me pause it. We see this little area that looks like a ball, and then we see that inflow just here. This would be where your tornado is. So it looks like if there's one happening, it's passing right over Dobson. I'm going to see if everything's okay there. Got a buddy that works at 911 in Dobson. He should be able to let us know what's going on. But this thing it's wound up. It is definitely wound up. It's not totally done, even though the rotation on radar isn't quite as strong. He says horrible weather, wind, rain, and hail. That was at the 911 call center in Dobson. So that's what the weather is like there. If we take a 3D slice of this, there does look to be some hail right near Dobson right now. Yeah, a little bit anyway. So plenty to track for you. We have 3 different tornado warnings for our area. 1, 2, 3, and there might be more after that. And again, we're not getting done with this anytime soon. This weather threat continues through tonight, and then for the Triad, it's mostly tomorrow morning, and then Raleigh area by lunchtime. So it's moving very slowly across the area, as we know. But again, just one after another. So we're going to take it as it comes. If you're in Forsyth, you're okay for now. Wait another hour or two, but I think we'll have some storms to track in your area closer to maybe 9, 10 o'clock. Same idea for Davidson County, maybe closer to 10 o'clock for you. Davie County, you're included in this tornado warning, but I got to tell you, it's not headed your way anytime soon. So that's a little confusing to me. It seems like it's actually just going to keep on following in the same path as the last one. So if you're in Mocksville, your phone buzzed for this one. This is not going to hit you in Mocksville. I'll just be plain about that. This is moving basically to the northeast. So we'll track it. We'll let you know. But that's kind of the movement on this that we're seeing at this time. And hopefully we can clear up some of these boxes pretty shortly. I think if you're in Wilkes County, you don't really have that much to worry about anymore as far as tornadoes. That threat should be to your east at this time, so hopefully we can clear you too, but you still have to watch for flooding as a possibility. Just one thing after another, Chad. You know, we have all these different boxes on the screen at once. I'm not sure if I've ever seen this many here in the Triad continuously or concurrently, I guess, just one after another.
And we're keeping in contact with some of the emergency management agencies around here for each of the counties. And so far, I mean, relatively good news. Not many people are reporting extensive damage or anything like that. The 911 Communications Center in Surrey, Wilkes County. So Elkin sits on that border there. I don't know if this is coming from Surrey or Wilkes, but there is a power line down on Gentry Road, according to the 911 communications out there. But that's really the extent of the damage that we have heard of, besides a couple of trees down here and there. So that's the good news at this point.
That is really good news. Hearing from someone who lives in near the Boonville area of Yadkin County, just says hasn't really heard of much damage locally. Also from Surrey 911. Said no 911 calls have been reported for damage yet in Surrey. However, he did receive a caller that reported a possible funnel cloud near Crotts Road, Blackwater community. So that would be near Blackwater and Crotts Road. Again, that's not something we can confirm. We don't have a picture, but here's the Blackwater community. If we zoom in, this is Crotts Road. So this would make sense with where the storm was. If we zoom out a little bit more, it's possible there could be funnels, you know. And there's been reported with this storm in particular. Someone reported that this was a tornado in Iredell County, just 2 counties south. So certainly can't rule that out. This storm does continue. Meanwhile, of course, if you're in Mount Airy, you've got to be taking it seriously too. Still a lot of rotation here. I don't think it's that strong anymore as far as the spinning motion, but you know, if we just heard a report of a funnel cloud, it's got to be still really strong. The radar is not the end-all be-all. So we are watching this move up past Dobson now, through White Plains, Red Brush, right along Interstate 74, and it'll move up toward the Virginia border after that, closing in on Mount Airy. So let's put some arrival times on there for you. In Mount Airy, the strongest part of the storm, let me clear this off.
Tim, while you're doing that, after you're finished with that, could you explain why one of the warnings, they look like the same location. One says it's until 8:30, one's until 8:15, I believe.
That is not something I'm able to explain because I don't understand why that's the case. So I just don't know. I'm not drawing them. I don't know why. It seems to me like one of them should have been canceled, and it hasn't been yet. I'm guessing that the Weather Service is pretty busy right now too. That's probably just the best explanation for it right now. But bottom line, there's a storm in Surrey County. It's giving you a threat. We can clear you out once it's passed, but right now it's basically right on top of you in Mount Airy. You only have about 5 minutes. Cana, just across the border into Virginia, that would be around 8:22. So that's storm number 1. Let's go back to storm number 2, which is moving through Elkin now. I'm just going to turn all of these warnings off. I'm going to turn all the warnings off. There is still strong rotation here near Rena. Again, going to move right there near the same area. So Boonville, get ready. You might see another storm moving your way, not too far from Birch as well. We'll be finding that one move through your area. Swan Creek and Rena all dealing with the same storm yet again. Farther to the south, looks like some muddled radar, which is not a bad thing. You know, it's good that this is not obviously super strong or bad. There's not a lot of clear velocity here showing me that there's a tornado happening in Iredell County. It looks like it's weakening a little bit. Hopefully that's the case. It's hard to have multiple storms go through the same area and still be strong. So maybe what we're seeing now is a little bit of weakening, hopefully. But there is still a tornado warning there until 8:45. So we have 3 warnings, the first 2 till 8:30, this one until 8:45. We'll just go one by one. We'll let you know when they're canceled. But overall, hopefully we can clean up these threats a little bit for you. Chad, you were asking about the 8:15 one. That's for this storm right here. The 8:30 one is for that storm there. But I think what's happened is this big box should have been cleared out, and for some reason it's just not doing that right now. Hopefully that can change shortly.
If you are in one of these warned areas, feel free to let us know on Facebook what you're seeing. Right now we are live streaming. Well, we're both on air, but also live streaming on our Facebook page. And in the comment section, just let us know where you're at and what you're seeing. Tim would agree with me when I say that our viewers are our best eyes on the ground for what is happening in your area. I mean, we don't have people all over the Triad who work for us, so you are technically our volunteer with information. And let us know what you're seeing. Let us know where you're at.
A little bit of a clue here. They are issuing a severe thunderstorm warning for Patrick County. That's where this storm is headed. So usually if they issue a severe thunderstorm warning down the line, they're not going to extend this. So probably this tornado warning will go toward a severe thunderstorm warning once it moves up into Virginia. So sorry, I moved in a little bit too close. Mount Airy, you're getting it right now. Heavy rain is moving through your area. Still have a tornado warning on this thing. A lot of rotation and spinning going on. Heard from some friends in Dobson that it was a tough storm with wind, hail, and tons of rain. Also hearing from some viewers that saying that this is too confusing. I don't know what I'm looking at. There are a lot of different storms right now, and the National Weather Service is trying their best to issue a bunch of different warnings at once. And so it's kind of hard to draw all these different boxes sometimes, but all you need to know is where the weather is. So that's my job, is to let you know where the weather is. We have a bad storm in Surrey that could be producing a tornado. We have another one near Elkin, this smaller one that could also perhaps be producing a tornado. Farther down the line, we have some in Iredell County that might be producing tornadoes as well. Hopefully, we can get to a point where all of these are weakening a little bit. The sunset is just about 10 minutes away. Usually after sunset, we start to get things a little bit calmer, a little bit less severe. Hopefully that will continue as we lose the heating of the day. But you can see what's happening. You know, Charlotte's in the same boat as we are in Greensboro or Winston-Salem. They've been watching these storms all afternoon, and look, as they're getting closer to the city, they're not really going to hit them. It looks like they're missing and weakening a little bit as well. So it's entirely possible that we might not have these storms hold together in intensity as they move into the Triad later on tonight. So a lot of storms to track, and they might not make it all the way this way toward Winston-Salem or Lexington, but we'll still be watching closely through 9, 10, and 11 o'clock tonight. And then we're going to do it again early tomorrow morning as the cold front itself gets a little closer to us. But still, 1, 2, and 3 tornado warnings that we're tracking for our News 2 viewing area. Waiting for that to change a little bit in the next couple of minutes. Hopefully they can clear these up somewhat. Chad, have you heard anything or any other questions perhaps?
So, you know, I asked for people to tell us what they're seeing and where they are right now. Someone in Hamptonville says they're just hearing thunder right now, which is better than when they were seeing and hearing the heavy rain and wind the last storm. Chris is on I-77 looking into the storm north of Statesville. Not seeing any rotation out of this, he says, but I've been chasing all afternoon and have seen very little rotation. Riley says that there's just some thunder and rain in North Wilkes. And Paris says just hearing a few thunderstorms here and there, very little rain in Hayes.
In Hayes, okay. Well, it's all good information. We certainly appreciate the reports. It helps us to know what you're seeing in the field, out and about for tonight. What I can tell you right now is I do think Wilkes County is done with the severe storms, I think. They would mostly be heavy rain right now and probably looking at a flood concern developing rather shortly. We're trying to get a little bit more clarity on all these different storms. Let's put on the velocity a little bit better so we can see if there's any really, really strong spinning that's still happening. It looks to me like this is a little bit weaker than it was before in Iredell County and also up here in Elkin. This is not as strong as the initial tornado warning was a little bit ago. There's still some rotation right here just south of Highway 67, just south of Birch. It's still going to move in the same area as the one right ahead of it. But as of right now, it doesn't look as strong as the one that just moved through. We'll let you know if that changes. Farther up the road, Mount Airy, you are in the thick of the storm right now. This should be about the worst that it gets for you. This is still a tornado warning for Surrey County until 8:30. Ignore the Wilkes and Yankton part. I don't know why that box is still on there for all of these different counties. We're just looking at this one in particular for Surrey County, but Mount Airy, be in your safe spot now for the next 15-20 minutes until it passes. It will be passing pretty shortly, moving into southern Virginia, but until that happens, be in your safe spot because that's a pretty nasty storm. Still some broad rotation here across the city of Mount Airy at this time, and hopefully we can see this get a little bit better pretty soon for you up that way. I'm going to leave the live radar up here for our whole area and kind of widen out the view just to give you some perspective of what we're dealing with. So if we look at this whole radar, and we can go ahead and take that full if you'd like, we'll see that the whole storm system is moving over the same areas. So it's kind of going one county at a time and not really making much progress. It's not getting much closer to Winston-Salem. It's kind of moving over the same areas over and over again, and that seems to continue, honestly, for the next couple of hours. So if you're in this line of fire, you kind of just have to hunker down and you know, have some endurance here. Hopefully we can weather these storms together, but slow ones are not good because we see the problems continue over the same areas longer and longer rather than come in and go out quickly. That's what we would prefer if we had the choice.
Tim, a couple other updates here. So Blake in Copeland says no wind or rain right now. As you might know, Copeland is in Surrey County. And then Timothy says heavy rains in Swan Creek, which is in Yadkin County, no wind or damage at this time. Now, someone else was wondering, Tim, if you expect to see these storms strengthen overnight or get weaker or stay about the same?
It's a really good question. And that's honestly the $1 million question right now. Do they get stronger or do they weaken? Usually when you go to the overnight, you're losing the important part of the heating of the day. And so that usually takes away a big ingredient when it comes to storms. I'm not sold on the fact that they're going to weaken though. And the reason I say that is that these storms have already been thriving in a neighborhood that has had pretty cool air with a lot of 60s. We are in the 70s with some humidity too. So as they move a little bit closer to the east, it's possible that they might get more warmth and more humidity and have a better chance to hold their own. So I think they might maintain their intensity from now until about midnight or so before they weaken a little bit after that midnight hour. So we're in this for the long haul. If there's still several counties away from you, they won't be in your neck of the woods anytime soon, but just kind of know in a couple of hours you could be looking at the same situation in Forsyth or in Stokes or in Davidson. That could be the same idea over there by 9, 10, and 11 o'clock tonight. So it is a slow crawl for these storms, and I do think they could maintain their intensity because they're moving into warmer areas. Even as we cool off, it might not be enough to totally squelch the storms completely. So we'll take it as it comes. I do think we're going to have a threat moving into the Triad closer to 9, 10, and 11 o'clock tonight. It's already 8:20, I guess. Still 1, 2, 3 different storms all at once. We're watching them all together here. Good news that we haven't heard of much damage. Let me see if that continues to be the case. Honestly, it's mostly been south of us. We have had a tornado report in Iredell County. We had a funnel cloud report in Hickory. Those are the same storms that moved into our foothill communities. But so far, haven't seen that damage or severity replicated in terms of power outages, downed trees, those kind of things. Chad, have you looked at the power outage map recently?
Yeah, I was just going to update you on that. So it's actually very promising. I mean, there are just about 100 people in the entire western portion of our viewing area that are without power. So that's good news. Not only is it good news because it means your lights are on, but it's also good news because it means maybe power lines are not down and the trees are staying up. So I feel like that's a good indicator for a lot of different things.
A lot of times that power outage map is our first clue or our first idea that things are getting really bad. And so that's what we try to look at that first just to see if we're able to notice that. Because it can be your first eyes and ears on the ground. It can tell you where there has been bad damage and all of those things. So far so good in that regard. These storms seem to be, concerning on radar, but maybe that's not translating to the ground so far. We certainly hope that that's the case. Storm number 1, storm number 2, storm number 3, all of these polygons, I think we finally figured them out. This is the one for that storm, this is the one for this storm, and then that one is for this storm. And again, I don't worry about Davie County for this one because it's not going to hit you. I think it's just a little bit too broad here. A new warning coming out now. This is not a tornado warning, but you see the yellow. Let me get my graphic to plot it. It's not going to do it. But bottom line, what we're seeing right now is a new severe thunderstorm polygon for this whole area. My guess is what might happen is once we get to 8:30, these red boxes will go away and we will have a yellow severe thunderstorm warning to count for all of these storms, which at this point, the rotation has been weakening a little bit. It's not been getting stronger. It has been getting a little bit weaker. So we'll see what happens with that. There is still some rotation happening. It's a lot actually right in the same area where it was before. Remember when we were talking about right near Boonville, right near Birch, right near Elkin? There's still a lot of spinning going on right here. This too is headed up toward Dobson next. It's basically the same path as the first storm did, moving through Yadkin up to Surrey. And so this one, following in the same footsteps, is probably the strongest one still on the board now. The rotation up here in Surrey County is not quite as strong as before, and neither would we say that about the Iredell storm either. I don't know if any of these are enough to maintain tornado warnings, to be quite honest with you. So we might see that they drop them and then reissue them as needed a little bit later on.
Tim, I asked people to type in some questions and send them to us, and we're getting a couple. This one's kind of interesting. You'll have to put on your Bill Nye the Science Guy hat for it. Do tornadoes spin clockwise or counterclockwise, and why?
Almost always they spin counterclockwise, which is the way that low pressure spins in our part of the globe. Hurricanes spin that way too. All low pressure spins that way. However, they're the only storm that can, on occasion, spin clockwise. It has been documented on rare occasion you do get a tornado that spins clockwise. It's not common, but it's in textbooks. We've seen it, we've observed it. It's just super rare. I've not seen one here in the Piedmont, but it can happen in theory anyway, just because they're such small systems. But in general, all storms in the northern hemisphere, they go counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, it's opposite.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, there you go. Noticing, remember a couple hours ago when we were talking about this, we mentioned how tornadoes like to be on their own. They like to be out here and ahead of the main line. What we're starting to see with the radar now is that we're actually kind of developing more of a line rather than little tiny storms. So when you make a line like this, like take Iredell County for example, when you have a line like that, it actually gets much harder to produce individual spin. Instead, it's going to act all as like a line in a motion, maybe straight line motion, but not as much of a spinning individual tornado storm. So hopefully, we're seeing more of a globbing together that would make a line rather than those individual storms. So I think that that's an encouraging sign, even though you're still going to get bad weather, and there is plenty of bad weather in Iredell County right now. Hopefully you wouldn't get as much of the individual spin that we were talking about a little while ago. Let's go farther to the north here, continuing to follow you. Mount Airy, your storm is just pushing through, storm number 1 anyway. This storm is just now moving to your north across the Virginia border, closing in on Cana. Don't really think that that's a tornado threat for Mount Airy any longer. That is going away. However, remember, this is the night where we get a bunch of different storms. You are still in the path of this one, which is just on the east side of Elkin, headed toward Dobson up next. So Dobson, get ready. Round 2 is coming your way. That is also headed toward Mount Airy pretty shortly. And the rotation on that one is still all right at the moment. It's still strong enough that you'd want to be a little concerned and go ahead and be in your safe spot until these storms move away. I know it's not comfortable, it's not fun, and it certainly can be scary, but it's a good idea to do. We're coming up on 8:26 p.m. here. These 2 tornado warnings are set to expire at 8:30. This one down here is set to expire at 8:45. We'll let you know what we find out, of course, on the fly. While I have you, let me do a broader weather forecast for most of the Triad. We have a severe thunderstorm watch for all of these counties until 10 o'clock tonight. That includes all the counties we've been on air about so far, but it also includes Stokes and Forsyth and Davidson and Davie and Rowan, because we think that storms could continue a little bit more into the late evening hours over this way. Now also, the overall storm system still goes all the way back out towards St. Louis. This is your swirling motion, and we have these multiple rounds of showers and storms moving our way. So while this round is happening now, we're still going to deal with more action closer toward the morning commute. This is probably the area that we see moving our way toward early tomorrow morning. So let's take a look here at your futurecast. We'll go kind of hour by hour. This is right now. And then this is closer to 10 and 11 o'clock tonight. This is around midnight and 1 and 2 a.m. There's here 3 a.m. Notice, so far, you haven't really seen anything by 3 a.m. in Greensboro, but by 4 and 5 and 6, that's when we see stuff moving our way. And then by 9, 10, and 11, it's finally moving out. It'll take a while, but by tomorrow morning, we're going to get out of this. Let me play that one more time. This is your hour by hour futurecast. This is right now. I think this model is a little bit slow. Just take that into account. This is probably what it looks like around 9 p.m. This is around 10 and 11. This is more like midnight to 1 or 2. There's 3 a.m. Still clear in Greensboro. But by 4 and 5 and 6 a.m., that's when things go downhill. And there is still a tornado threat tomorrow morning into the mid-morning hours. But by lunchtime, you should be good to go. I'm not really worried. Let's take another model's opinion. That's kind of like seeing different doctors. We like to ask different models what they think. This is around 8 o'clock here. You can see that model was too far to the east. That was not accurate just yet. But this is what it has around midnight. This is around 2 and 3 and 4 a.m. right there. And I think this model is a little bit too fast, but it still gives you an idea. Clearing out by lunchtime tomorrow. Most of the Triad not seeing much tonight, but seeing more in the way of action early tomorrow morning. So you could get awoken by some buzzes on your phone, and you can bet we're going to be staffed up to cover that for you early tomorrow. In the meantime, it is now 8:28 in the evening. Let's kind of do a reset for you. We're still tracking that threat of showers and severe storms in the foothills for tonight. That's our severe weather risk through 8 a.m. tomorrow. Then your risk for Friday is pretty big across most of the Triad, including the threat of tornadoes and thunderstorms. And right now, the areas that we're concerned about are the foothills only the foothills. And the reason is that's where the storms just keep moving over the same neighborhoods. So we're starting to see a flood threat develop here. Wilkes County, I think you're probably going to start to see some minor flooding if you haven't seen it already. That's likely to happen. And we're seeing these different tornado warnings still continue. 3 of them, one for Surrey, one for Yadkin, and one for Iredell counties. A couple of these might expire very shortly, but we also have these severe thunderstorm big boxes right along the line. Bottom line, what does all that mean? Let me take the boxes off. These storms are bad, and they're moving through your counties. Surrey, Yadkin, Iredell. We do not have confirmation of any tornadoes. We don't have confirmation of even major damage just yet. Hopefully we don't get any, but please just be safe and kind of be on guard as they're moving through. Notice they are getting closer to Davie County. They are getting a little closer to Forsyth and Davidson and Stokes. So by 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you could be dealing with some of the same stuff that your neighbors to the west are right now. You should already be able to see the lightning in the night sky if you take a look off to the west. That's something that is easy to spot on a night like tonight. So these storms do continue. I don't think they're getting stronger at this time. If anything, I think they're getting a little bit weaker. So I'm encouraged by that. I also don't see any major signs of super intense rotation. We do still have some rotation right here in Elkin, just right by the Birch area, right along Highway 268. But as of right now, it is 8:30. I do not have a new warning for it. So right now, they're not reissuing any of the tornado warnings for Surrey or for Yadkin County. So it seems like as of right now, they're going to leave these warnings with a severe thunderstorm warning, indicating that, yeah, these storms are pretty bad. So for Dobson, again, let me just take this all off because it's too much. But these warnings kind of cover all of these storms now. So right now, instead of tornado warnings for Surrey or Yadkin, we just have a big severe thunderstorm warning, indicating that you could get damaging winds, you could get some hail, you could get some flooding or some lightning. But right now, we're not seeing any spinning anymore that would indicate a strong tornado. So Mount Airy, Dobson, Elkin, Yadkin counties, severe thunderstorm warning continues, but we don't have a tornado warning for you. Let's go a little bit farther to the south here. Again, I'd like some clarity from the Weather Service on this one because we're not seeing much of rotation here either anymore. In Iredell County, this is the one that kind of extends over to include Davie County. That goes until 8:45, which is about 13 minutes from now. Let me see what they think about that one before we let you go.
While you're looking that up, Tim, just an update from the newsroom. Surrey County 911 told us that there are a couple of trees down in the western part of the county. They gave a couple of roads where this is happening, Maple Grove Church Road and West Pine Street. So a little bit of damage, some couple trees down in Surrey County, but that really is kind of the extent of what we are hearing from the newsroom. We're also getting some updates from people who are out and about and letting us know their conditions. Kathleen says she's in Low Gap, the top of 89 just below the state line. Thunder, lightning, rain is up and down in intensity, but not going sideways yet. Caps Mill, which is near Elkin. Ned says that there's heavy rain, but no wind. And then a couple other things. Alex was on I-77, and he said there was some congestion in that tornado warned area, which I expect, is expected when there is severe weather. And then Carol says getting heavy rain again, close to 268 and 601. So a lot of people just appreciative of the coverage that you're giving tonight, and pretty good so far.
Those are a lot of folks, Chad, that were in those areas right where the storm was moving. We were calling out 268, we were calling out 601. This warning does still continue. Again, if you're on I-77, what a terrible drive. Even if there isn't a tornado in here, you're dealing with torrential rainfall, lightning, possible hail as well for 20, 30, 40 miles or so. I mean, this is just an awful line of storms. And it looks like that is, that's a straight 40-mile torrential downpour there. So not something you would want to deal with. You'd want to be pulling over at that point for sure. I have not seen strong rotation for a little while. So to me, it looks like the threat here is winding down when it comes to a tornado. And again, it's clipping part of Davie County. So as of right now, I'm not that concerned about it. We do still have severe thunderstorm warnings to the north and to the south, so we're watching that. But overall, the threat of a tornado is going down in Iredell County and Davie County right now. It's still there, but I'm not so sure that we're going to be dealing with it. I am getting some reports from folks in Iredell County. They've reported a couple of different tornado. They're saying touchdowns in multiple areas. But some of them are from earlier. We had that confirmation earlier near Love Gap, I believe it was, or was it Love Valley is where we had a storm like that. Just some conflicting reports, I guess, near Sandy Springs Road and Joyner Road in Iredell County. So we'll see what comes of that, but I haven't heard of major damage yet. You would think if there was a touchdown, we would be hearing about major damage. It seems like most of the damage, actually, though, as we look at Iredell County, this is honestly most of it so far. So part of a church roof is gone, Love Valley. And again, this isn't Iredell County, but it's 5 miles from Yadkin. So that's the storm that rolled into Yadkin earlier and gave us that tornado warning. Some trees down in Love Valley, structure collapse. This is all 7 o'clock, so this is 90 minutes ago. It seems to me that is the extent of it so far. That's the only major damage that we've heard of in our area, Chad, and hopefully that continues. We're not seeing any of these storms get stronger. They've only been getting a little bit more normal, I guess, a little bit less severe. So hopefully that continues. I do think they'll be able to drop this tornado warning in 9 minutes, which is good news. I don't see any need for it to continue, but the threat will continue a little while longer. We're going to continue to kind of watch this behind the scenes once we leave you. We'll watch it really throughout the whole night because this is not going anywhere. This whole line is kind of globbing together, and we're going to see it move into rest of Yadkin, rest of Surrey, the rest of Davie. That's probably around 9:30 and 10 o'clock. And then by 10:30 and 11 o'clock, when we're joining you for News 2 at 11, we're probably seeing those storms, right around here. And it's at that point that they might start to fizzle out because they're getting farther away from the actual front, which is still really far back to the west. So they're losing some of their punch probably at that point, but still the severe weather threat will continue, and then it'll go down, and then it'll come back up tomorrow morning because the storm system is getting closer. So that's kind of the way that it's so complicated to explain this one compared to other storms that are so simple, but this just has a lot of moving parts to it.
Are you comfortable giving anybody the all clear in our viewing area?
As far as like a tornado threat, like I think you're all clear for Wilkesboro, Boone, Allegheny County, anywhere like backside of this line, I don't think you're going to get any more tornado warnings. I'll put it that way. However, you're still getting a lot of rain, and you're going to get more tomorrow morning. So the flood threat, we always just toss flood aside because it's not sexy. It's not a picture like a tornado or a hailstone or anything like that. Floods kill way more people than tornadoes do. And they can be dangerous, and they can be honestly just really costly too. We see people's homes get flooded all the time. We had this in Burlington earlier this week. People lost their cars. People had their houses get flooded up. That could be happening tonight while people are sleeping over here in the foothills. So still some bad weather, but it's not as fast moving, and it's not as truly destructive as a tornado can be. So hopefully we're not seeing as much of that in the next 20 minutes.
You've probably seen on social media, Tim, as I have over the past couple of weeks, people thinking saying that it feels as though we have had more severe weather this spring than in springs past. And I don't know if that's accurate, or I don't know if it's because we are currently in this spring that it feels more active than previous springs.
Yeah, we don't really have, I don't have right now the data on, how many, but we could certainly pull that up and look at years past, and probably the best way to do that would be to just pull the number of warnings we've had, right? You can actually put a number on it. This year we've had 13 tornado warnings or whatever it is. We could compare that to years past. I can just tell you, to me, from a workload perspective, it hasn't felt much different than past springs. I think I remember saying to you, Chad, back in April, well, kind of dodged the bullet. April didn't have anything.
Right.
May has been a little busy, but April was okay. So we've had a lot of threats. We've had a lot of alerts. I had someone on Facebook earlier, today tell me, I lived here, since the 1950s, and she said, I don't remember those type of days back when I was younger. And I honestly think that part of it is we didn't used to be able to anticipate the bad storms very well with the forecasting. Tornadoes were often not even included in a forecast at all. They just happened. And so this is something that we can do nowadays where we can say, hey, all the ingredients are there. We could have tornadoes 3 days from now. And that's, we said that a couple of days ago, and it can kind of raise the anxiety. So it's a double-edged sword between preparation and getting people too anxious, I would say. But this warning continues for about 5 more minutes, and then we should be able to drop it.
Jay on Facebook is asking about Patrick County, Virginia. You've been showing
Sure.
that area quite a bit too, but just kind of right over the border there.
Yeah, so Patrick County, part of our area as well. Let's take a look here. This is a severe thunderstorm warning now for Patrick County. This is actually a pretty interesting feature. You can see, let me pause it. So you're getting the same storm that rolled through Mount Airy. And you see here, almost looks like a comma, like a punctuation mark. This is developing a little bit of an individual low pressure area, kind of a swirling motion. It doesn't make it any more severe. It's just a little bit interesting. You're obviously getting very, very heavy rainfall, but also it's only a tiny chunk of Patrick County. So this chunk is getting the weather, but Patrick County is big. It goes all the way over there. So it's only a little bit of the county. Your phone might have buzzed, but most of it is still dry. So far. Same thing with Surrey. As much as we've talked about Surrey, Pile Mountain seen nothing tonight. Westfield too. This is all dry still. So it's really this south to north rainfall that just hits the same areas over and over again, which is punishing for flooding and exhaustion and all of that. It's like, when is this going to stop? This is going to kind of wear on you a little bit here. So just kind of mentally prepare for that right now, because the end of this is not soon. It's really tomorrow rather than tonight. As we continue to find this line, which is becoming more of a line, it makes it easier for it to stay non-tornadic and just regular severe thunderstorms. So hopefully that's what we continue to see. We're not seeing any individual storms anymore. They are forming that line, which is the way we would like it to stay. So hopefully that continues to be the case. Farther out to the south and to the west, we look toward the Charlotte area. They're probably not going to get anything in Charlotte. It's just basically just staying outside of their urban loop, but they do have some scattered storms right now. And more action, just a little bit more calm in South Carolina at the moment. So that's an encouraging sign. I hope that this might be the, sort of a downward trend. Maybe we get a couple of hours of calmer weather, but certainly these are still bad storms that could create wind damage, trees down, power outages, those kind of things, and flooding, and car crashes, and those types of hazards. So if you don't need to be out and about tonight, it's kind of like a snowstorm. Like, don't. This can be just as dangerous as driving in the snow or something like that, especially on I-77 right now from Charlotte up to the Virginia border. That's a horrible drive.
For people who are in Guilford, Rockingham, Alamance, Randolph, obviously we haven't started to even see this storm yet.
No.
When would you say is the all clear for the eastern half of the viewing area?
All clear would be lunchtime tomorrow.
Okay.
So it takes a while. But we can go through the future cast here. This is around 10 o'clock, and again, this is just a computer estimate here. It's already a little bit wrong on that. I think that's a little bit too slow. But here's what it has for 3 and 4 a.m. This is 5. Here's around 6 and 7 a.m. Notice we have more lines forming through 10 and 11, but this is noon. By noon, it's over in Raleigh, and we are clearing out. So that's not the same line that we're seeing right now. This is probably the 3rd or 4th or 5th version of the line that will die off and reform and die off and reform a couple ways. But the front itself will be crossing our area midday tomorrow. Kind of what we've been saying, you have this threat of severe weather for Friday. The threat is higher east of Greensboro. We do still have that tornado risk and a wind threat and a flooding threat. The timing for Friday is mostly 6 a.m. To about 1 p.m. Hopefully we can fine tune that a little bit more and cut off those hours, but that's kind of what we're looking at.
So just be aware that the morning commute could be a little messy depending on where you are.
Oh yeah, it really could be, and you might have hydroplaning as an issue, and all of those things. So we're 1 minute away from this warning being expired or canceled, but it looks like yes, they are going to expire this tornado warning and go with a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're actually our job here is done for now. We're at least going to take a pause. If and when there are any more tornado warnings issued for our area, we're going to do the same thing for you that we did for your friends and neighbors and give you that coverage. But as of right now, we're going to take a pause as this warning expires. It is 8:45 and return you to that regularly scheduled programming. We'll have, of course, more information on News 2 at 11 o'clock, and as always, on social media and the News 2 weather app. Thank you.